you can make an argument, right, for Sirianni sitting the starters. The bottom line, the Bears are the 2 seed, the Eagles are the 3, right? So let's spin ahead and focus in on Chicago. Dan, what's the biggest question for you heading into the playoffs?
Yeah, so number one, is there going to be a receiving threat opposite Colston Loveland to really emerge for Caleb Williams? I really think just watching them, he's the guy that it feels the connection is the best with. There's been moments with DJ Moore. Yeah. There's been moments with Rome Odunze. There's been moments with Luther Burden. But right now, these last couple weeks, it feels like in these moments, man, Colston Loveland's the guy. So is somebody else going to consistently show up in the pass game? And then I'd say the second thing is, how much man do you actually want to play, Chicago? How much man coverage do you actually want to play? Because when I watch it, you're playing a lot. And from an offensive perspective, I'm like, I'd go at that guy, I'd go at that guy, I'd go at that guy. And I just don't think when you get into these playoffs and you're playing against these game plan-centric teams, that's going to bode well.
The Chicago Bears don't have a good enough defense to make a deep playoff run.
Yeah.
And that's okay for this year. This is a team, in my opinion, that's exceeded expectations. Their head coach has overachieved, and I feel like their quarterback has shown you in some of the biggest moments of this game where the pressure is the highest that he's a quarterback that you can count on based on his skill, based on his ability to create plays in the pocket. But you just can't get enough stops. This team on the back end doesn't make enough plays consistently, even though they can turn the football over. And what Dan said about these game plan specific weeks is that people are going to come into these games differently than they do the regular season games. It's not about what you're building up on. It's about what can we put in place to get out of the stadium with more points on the scoreboard than you this week. And I feel like that type of specialized attack is something that Dennis Allen's defense won't be prepared for in roster or schematically.
Yeah, I feel like in their defensive unit, it's Johnson. Like Jalen Johnson is the guy that you're like, hey, I'm going to avoid them throwing the football, but then you could work it inside versus C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who's been a very good player.
But he's a big nickel.
And, yes, so there's pass matchups there. And Wright, as good of a season as he's had, I do think he's got a little jumpy to him.
He's where Trayvon Diggs was in some of the times when he was one of the best in the league is turning the football over. You'll get your yardage, but if you leave the ball inside, leave it short, he'll pick it off.
They will host that game on Monday night. Here's Mike Tomlin about catching a break.
I mean, how can you put into words just the thin line between if they make that kick, season's over, comes to a screeching halt, and missing that kick and the winter going on?
You know how it is. If my aunt had male parts, she'd be my uncle.
Like, how does he even think of that in that moment? Like, he doesn't know that question's going to be asked.
That's the third time I've heard it today.
It's so good. He has no idea that's coming, and then he still says that. Okay, I love that.
He's not lying, though.
I think as soon as the question started, he had the answer.
Because he had a little thing on his face. There was a little smirk, and you're like, he's coming up with something.
Also, male parts.
He also, okay, this is my last comment on it. He never screws those things up. Like, sometimes you try to say a cute line, and you kind of don't nail it. And
no
it's like,
stutter.
No, he's
perfect delivery.
RC, are you surprised that the Steelers landed in the playoffs? I mean, earlier this season, rightfully so, you were critical of some things they were doing.
You know, I'm not surprised with them landing in the playoffs when I think about what my expectations were of them at the beginning of the season. When they signed Aaron Rodgers, I thought to myself, okay, this puts you right back where you've been every other year. You'll sneak into the playoffs and then possibly be out or probably be out week 1 in the wild card game. And they're kind of in that exact spot. But I don't want to take away what it took to get there. I don't want to take away the win on Baltimore's field or finding a way in the middle of the season to beat the Indianapolis Colts. And I don't want to take away what Aaron Rodgers and this offense was able to do late in this game to give this team a chance. Mike Tomlin understood what that moment was for both himself and for his quarterback. And both of those people stepped into that stadium playing to win the game and avoiding playing not to lose. And that's why they have this opportunity this week against the Houston Texans.
Guys, listen, we going to be there for Monday night. I don't think the Steelers are a threat. I'm actually terrified for them. Because 2 weeks ago, I saw them only score 6 points against the Cleveland Browns. And this Houston Texans team, I never thought I would say this, is I don't think you want to play against them as an offense. Like, this is one of those situations where Aaron Rodgers last night took over the football game and did a phenomenal job. But we wasn't writing home about the Baltimore Ravens defense. We haven't wrote home about them all season long. This is a different animal. And the only reason I say that they're not a threat is because when you look at the game last night, it was still balls flying over the secondary head. Derrick Henry still was making explosive runs. And you saw the deficiencies that have shown up all season long. Now, getting DK back is unbelievably timely for what they're about to face against the Houston Texans. And the secondary, at times, you can win back there with time and the ability, hopefully. That's the problem against Houston. You just don't have time. So whatever game plan Aaron Rodgers comes up with, because, yes, I'm saying Aaron Rodgers, a lot of that I thought in the fourth quarter was on him. He's going to have to come up with the best one he's ever come up with in his life playing against the Houston Texans front. I ain't even talking about the back end. The front alone, you better come up with the best game plan you ever came up with.
You're counting Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter.
There's a lot of them out there.
The things that worked well for Pittsburgh last night, 218 yards after the catch,
that ain't happening.
will not work against this Houston defense. No. That's been the trademark of this Steelers offense this year, as kind of mundane as it's been or average as it's been. It's get the ball in playmakers' hands and let them have to be kind of special in space. And it won, in many ways, them the game last night. This defense in Houston does not give that up. And so not only Marcus,
he loves that.
You got to block them. It's like then you got to get the ball out to people, and those people have to make the people that are really good at tackling be bad at tackling.
The other problem is this, though. They don't just tackle. Like, they try to hurt
face.
you.
Yeah.
Like, the physicality,
They're
the
hunting.
pursuit to the ball, the way they corral is so different.
Yeah.
And by the way, just to clarify here, Mina, you're going next, but we are not laughing at the Steelers. We are laughing. That's like the laugh of Marcus loving a defense so
No
much
one
and the
wants to
style
play
of
that
play
defense.
that these
They're a
Texans.
throwback.
Yeah, they are, right? Go ahead, Mina.
They're just so fun to watch. Marcus, you talked about like having a plan for the front. I already know what the plan for the front is. That ball is coming out in 2.5 seconds or less. The problem is when offenses do that, and that's typically the plan against Houston, Dan alluded to this, they don't let you get yards after the catch on short passes. They are allowing the lowest yards per attempt of any team. They have the best success rate. They're allowing first downs under 25% of the time. They swarm to the football. Dan and I are all-pro voters, and I put, I think, 4 or 5 Texans defenders on my list at multiple levels of this defense. I mean, Kamari Lassiter, we talk about Will Anderson Jr. and obviously Danielle Hunter and Derek Stingley Jr. He might be the best tackling corner in the entire damn NFL. So to not to say this is hopeless, Aaron Rodgers, you're going to have to push the ball downfield because dink and dunk does not work against this team.
Here's Trevor in the locker room after the win.
Trevor, because it's fun. We appreciate you so much for everything you do. I just want you to know all of Jacksonville behind you. We know it's a meme that's kind of going viral, so we got your own video.
He's never taken those out.
That's pretty
Dan
dope.
goes, what'd they get him? Grilled. Okay.
Oh, well.
Anyway, congratulations to this Jags team. It's been fun to watch. What changed for Lawrence this season? Because that was one of the big questions, RC, going in. Could
Liam
he
Cohen.
turn it around?
Liam Cohen changed.
Yeah.
Changed it, period. He's a head coaching star. He's an empowerer of quarterbacks, and he's an absolute dog. The reason that this team is different is because he's different. When you go face-to-face with Robert Saleh, that sort of energy you come into locker rooms with. And even when you go to Denver and you hear a slight of your team by Sean Payton, who's a legend in this game at the coaching position, you challenge him after the game and say, I'm just happy I can do this. You know, us small market teams. You watch Baker Mayfield play last year, the intensity he played with, the effort he played with, the physicality he played with, the intelligence he played with. It's eerily similar to Trevor Lawrence, but now Trevor Lawrence, with all of this potential, is playing to the height of that potential. It's giving the effort you want to see. And to me, Jarrian Jones giving him that grill is more a signification or a symbol of how he's playing the game, not the way that he's playing it in the sense of the X's and O's. Yeah. He's become a symbol for who this team is and for who Duval is. And that's a large thing for a guy like Trevor Lawrence. And that's all about Liam Cohen.
It feels like they've just stopped babying him.
Yeah.
And I think when Trevor goes on the field now, he's like, I'm the best player on the field. It's demanding everything while asking nothing. And now you're watching a player not worry about interceptions or bad plays. You go to a couple of clips, trips up to the top, one-on-one. You're building Brian Thomas Jr. into that shake route backside to have the one-on-one. He sees the safety go to the middle of the field. You want to work that throw to the bottom of the screen, but that's outside leverage. Okay, that's a win by that defensive back right there. You better trust that the guy's going to get open. And if you're Brian Thomas Jr., you better get open towards that sideline. Beautiful throw and catch. The touchdown pass to Parker Washington, it's the real number one growth this season. 2 safeties. We want to work the middle of the field in the pass game. He peeks up top to hold the field safety, and there's going to be a nod post by Parker Washington. You got to cut the ball loose now, and it better be the face mask or higher down there. Trevor Lawrence, he just wasn't confident enough to make throws like this at this time previously in his career. That's the case this year. He thinks he's the best thrower of the football right now. Every time he steps on the field, he's going to need to be against Josh Allen and Buffalo this weekend. But there's no longer the coddling of Trevor Lawrence, and you're watching him embrace that.
Adam Schefter back with us for some more top stories. Raheem Morris, Adam, fired in Atlanta on Sunday, but the news didn't stop there. Adam, what other teams are making moves at the head coaching positions?
Well, Laura, Raheem Morris is going to interview this week, according to Peter Schrager, with the Tennessee Titans. And my understanding is it will not be. Oh, we're going to start with Stefanski here. Okay, he's got interest from the Giants, the Falcons, the Titans. He's expected to interview with all those teams at some point. There could be other teams that jump in, but those 3 initially jumped in for Stefanski today, and we'll see how that works out for him. But it looks like he'll be a top candidate in this cycle. Meanwhile, the Las Vegas Raiders fired Pete Carroll today, 1 and done after the Raiders had the worst record in football and have locked up the number 1 overall pick in the draft, where many expect that they'll take a quarterback. It'll be up to the Raiders general manager, John Spytek, along with Tom Brady, to find the next Raiders head coach to replace Pete Carroll, who now is moving on from Las Vegas. And the Arizona Cardinals fired Jonathan Gannon today, after a few seasons where this team struggled to get it right defensively. In particular, that was his specialty. You see his record, 15-36 in the 3 seasons. He had lost his last 9 games, and the Cardinals owner, Michael Bidwell, decided today he had seen enough. The Cardinals general manager, Monty Ossenfort, will lead the team's search. Meanwhile, there are a number of coaches who have been deemed safe. Shane Steichen and the Colts GM Chris Ballard, safe for 2026. Zach Taylor, the Bengals head coach, and Duke Tobin, the player personnel manager, today, safe. Joe Shane, the Giants general manager, safe. And as we mentioned at the start, Peter Schrager reported Raheem Morris going to interview at Tennessee later this week. And like I said, there'll be other teams, I believe, that will also be interviewing Raheem Morris for the head coaching job as well. Plenty of interest in Raheem Morris, who was fired last night from Atlanta. And I think surprised by the decision, frankly.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, we were surprised. Thanks to Adam for the latest there. And okay, Mina, should this Falcons job be a desirable landing spot for a head coach?
I think so, with some caveats. I think one of the things that is appealing about it is that they wiped the slate clean, right? Like we talked earlier about a couple teams where I said with the Giants and the Browns, I didn't understand why they kept the GM. And with Atlanta, I think it was the right decision to move on from the GM, despite the fact that he has drafted some talented players. Too often I have felt like instead of focusing on this roster from a holistic standpoint, they just aggressively attacked one position, going for 2 quarterbacks at the same time with Cousins and Penix. And this year, going all in on the pass rush, perhaps at the extent of other positions on the roster. And I think because the decision at quarterback is so monumental, so challenging, to be blunt, you don't want a GM who comes into this who already has pre-existing beliefs about what it should look like, perhaps based on decisions made in the past. Now you have the opportunity to do what we saw in Jacksonville, what we saw in New England, which is the GM and the head coach can move in lockstep on the same timeline and make that challenging decision together. And it is going to be a challenging one because there are a lot of factors, including health and money, going into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Look, the quarterback position is the most important. I mean, usually the 3 coaches that we saw got fired, they had issues at that position. It's lockstep with what guys have to do. And look, Michael Penix injuries and didn't work out. Kirk Cousins got injured after they planned it. But the draft threw us all for a loop when they took Michael Penix Jr. There's talent on this Atlanta roster. We saw it come to fruition. They may have the best offensive player in football in Bijan Robinson. You can make a hard argument for that. So there are a lot of things to be desired. But we all know what that position means to any and every franchise. Just take a look at the playoff teams. Couple guys are just guys, but majority of these guys played at a very high level. You have to get that position right in Atlanta because I think you have a lot to build off there.
Yeah, if you think about just Bijan Robinson, we're talking about alone, you got to do right by him, right? He did, of course, come out in defense of Raheem Morris. Now, as the regular season comes to a close, that means we know about the NFL draft order officially now. For just the second time in the common draft era, the Raiders have the first overall pick in the NFL draft. The first time left something to be desired. They went with Jamarcus Russell in 2007. This time, they look likely to take a quarterback with that pick. And with a new head coach coming in to replace Pete Carroll. Tom Brady, of course, will be in the mix on that new head coach hire. I'm sure he'll have some input into what to do with that first overall pick, too. RC, most mocks have Fernando Mendoza as the guy. If that's the case, what kind of coach would you be looking for?
I think the first thing is you need someone to set a different tone. In Las Vegas. It doesn't need to be this loosey-goosey, oh, we're here to have fun and let's play this game like we're playing craps, right? Let's show up to work, let's be organized, and let's understand what you have to do to be a unit and an outfit that executes on game day. And I think someone like Brian Flores is a coach who could do that, a coach who has the Patriot way as a way that he came up in this game learning under Bill Belichick, which also has ties to Tom Brady. And Tom Brady understands and knows what he wants from someone who is standing at the front podium on Wednesdays, letting a team know how they can win or lose a football game. I also think the offensive coordinator hire is going to be really important if you go with Brian Flores. I would like a coach that has worked with a young quarterback, but maybe also has had some head coaching experience to go along in those conversations of developing a team.
The Raiders have to ask themselves, do they want to be serious? They'll be paying fired coaches $50 million next year. This will be their sixth head coach since 2021. It's preposterous the way that they've just let's throw things at the wall and see if it works. The Raiders, who have this long storied history, have become in many ways a laughing stock. And so before we get into the conversation of who should be the number one pick, you obviously hiring a head coach, but like, how do they get a competent roster of talent?
Yeah.
The guy to build around is Brock Bowers. We'll see about Ashton Genty. They should trade Max Crosby and get as much value as they can for him right now. And so they've got to figure out a way to like truly start to build an actual well-run organization rather than just this revolving door of names that they think or hope may work out.